Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear brothers and sisters, and welcome back to the Islamic SHAHADA channel. When we talk about religion in America, the narrative often revolves around Christianity as the majority faith, or the growing number of people identifying with no religion at all. Yet, beneath the headlines, another story is quietly unfolding. Islam is now recognized as the fastest growing religion in the United States. But what does growth really mean in this context? Religious growth can be measured in several ways, through birth rates, immigration, conversion, and retention, or the ability of a community to keep its members engaged over generations. Islam, uniquely, shows strength in all these areas. On a global scale, studies by Pew Research between 2010 and 2020 already highlighted Islam as the fastest growing religion worldwide, driven primarily by higher fertility rates among Muslim populations and significant levels of religious retention. In fact, global projections suggested that by 2050, the number of Muslims could nearly equal that of Christians worldwide. This isn't just a distant prediction. It's a trend already visible on the ground in America. In the United States, the story takes on its own dimensions. Unlike some parts of the world where natural growth is the dominant factor, in America, Islam's rise is shaped by a blend of immigration from Muslim-majority countries, the higher-than-average birth rates among Muslim families, and perhaps most strikingly, conversion. Every year, thousands of Americans, men and women, Black, white, Latino, and Asian, embrace Islam, making it the religion with one of the highest rates of conversion in the country. Recent studies suggest that nearly two-thirds of American converts are women, a remarkable statistic in contrast to global religious conversion trends. This dynamic growth is also urban in character. Islam is most visible in cities like New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, and Detroit, where Muslim communities are shaping the cultural and social fabric of American life. From mosques and Islamic schools to halal restaurants and Muslim-owned businesses, the presence of Islam in urban America signals not just religious diversity, but a deeper transformation of the nation's demographic and spiritual landscape. According to the 2023-24 Religious Landscape Study by Pew Research, a nationally representative survey of 36,908 U.S. adults, we now have unprecedented clarity into the demographics of Muslim Americans. The Muslim population in the United States is significantly younger, highly educated, urban-centered, and ethnically diverse. First, on age, about a third of Muslim adults, 35%, are aged 18 to 29, a share far greater than that same age group in Christian or religiously unaffiliated populations. Only 8% of U.S. Muslims are 65 years or older. This youthfulness is a key driver of religious growth, family formation, and socioeconomic mobility among Muslim Americans. In terms of education, Muslim Americans have among the highest educational attainment levels of any religious group. Approximately 44% hold at least a bachelor's degree, and about 26% have a postgraduate degree, master's, doctorate, or other advanced education. Many are also current students. A large fraction of those without a degree are pursuing one. Geographically, most Muslims live in urban metropolitan areas. While the survey doesn't assign every respondent to a specific city, data shows Muslim communities cluster around major U.S. cities, where there's greater access to mosques, Islamic centers, halal services, and ethnic community networks. The urban concentration also correlates with more liberal cultural exposure and increased opportunity for conversion and visibility. On ethnic/racial diversity, no single racial or ethnic group constitutes a majority among Muslim Americans. The breakdown is roughly 30% white, 30% Asian, 20% Black or African American, 11% Hispanic or Latino, and the remainder identifying as multiracial or other. Additionally, 59% of U.S. Muslims are foreign-born, underscoring the strong role of immigration. Because of this diversity, Muslim America is not monolithic. You will find families from South Asia, the Middle East, North Africa, Southeast Asia, Africa, the Latino community, and multi-ethnic backgrounds. Many Muslims are first- or second-generation immigrants, but a sizable proportion were born in the U.S. The geography of Islam in America is unmistakably urban. Nearly two-thirds of U.S. Muslims live inside major metropolitan areas, and those cities are where Muslim life, mosques, halal markets, Islamic schools, civic groups, and political organizing is most visible and influential. Urban concentration is a central reason Islam's social footprint in the U.S. feels large and rapidly growing. New York City and its greater metropolitan area are the single largest hub of Muslim life in the United States. Estimates for Muslim residents in New York City Metro vary by method, but community studies and impact reports place the number in the high hundreds of thousands, often cited near 750,000, making New York the most ethnically diverse Muslim center in America. Here you find concentrated communities in Queens, Astoria, Jamaica, Brooklyn, Bay Ridge, Bensonhurst, the Bronx, parts of Manhattan, and key satellite cities in New Jersey and Long Island. The urban ecosystem supports hundreds of mosques, halal businesses, Islamic schools, and robust civic networks that continually reinforce New York's role as a national Muslim magnet. The Detroit metropolitan area, and especially the city of Dearborn, is the nation's most concentrated Muslim/Arab enclave. Recent census and local analyses show Dearborn, with a majority Middle Eastern/North African ancestry local population, over half in recent counts, and Dearborn is home to the Islamic Center of America, one of North America's largest mosque complexes. That concentration translates into political power, visible religious life, and public policies that recognize Muslim rhythms, city-level accommodations for Eid, strong Arab American voter organization, making Dearborn a model of how dense Muslim communities can shape municipal life. Chicago's greater metropolitan region is another major Muslim cluster. Local estimates put the Muslim population in the hundreds of thousands, driven by long-standing African American Muslim communities, large South Asian populations, and Bosnian and other Balkan Muslim enclaves that settled after the 1990s conflicts in Europe. Chicago's Muslim ecosystem includes decades-old institutions, inter-community networks, and a mix of downtown and neighborhood mosques that serve culturally distinct congregations but cooperate on civic and social services. On the West Coast, Los Angeles and Southern California host one of the largest and most multi-ethnic Muslim populations in the country. Estimates commonly list the greater LA area with hundreds of thousands of Muslim residents, Iranians and Persian communities in the San Fernando Valley, and LA proper, Pakistanis and South Asians across the region, Indonesians, and many African and African American Muslims. Southern California's Muslim presence is visible in media, cuisine, mosques, and halal commerce, and it plays a vital role in shaping the state's multicultural narrative. Texas has emerged as a major growth corridor for Muslim life, with Houston and Dallas-Fort Worth among the fastest expanding Muslim metro areas in recent years. Houston alone is commonly estimated to have around 200,000 Muslims in the metro area. The presence is reflected in large mosques, Islamic schools, regional halal festivals, and high-attendance Ramadan iftars that draw thousands, signals of both demographic growth and strong civic engagement. Philadelphia and its suburbs have a deep historical role in African American Islam and continue to host a dense network of mosques and community centers that date to the Nation of Islam era and to later Sunni and community-based movements. Philadelphia often ranks high on measures such as mosque density and historical continuity of Black Muslim institutions. The city remains a stronghold of locally rooted Muslim activism and community institutions. The Twin Cities, Minneapolis-St. Paul, are the premier U.S. center of the Somali diaspora and are therefore a critical node of East African Muslim life in America. Estimates of the Somali population and the broader Muslim population in Minnesota vary by method, but the Twin Cities clearly host tens of thousands of Somali Americans and a statewide Muslim population that researchers place anywhere from roughly 115,000 to 150,000 depending on the estimate, with Somalis constituting the largest single immigrant Muslim cohort there. The Somali presence has reshaped neighborhoods, birthed dozens of mosques and halal businesses, and produced high-profile political leaders and civic entrepreneurs. Beyond these headline metros, there are other important hubs and secondary capitals of Muslim life. Paterson, New Jersey, large Arab and South Asian presence. Hamtramck and Dearborn Heights near Detroit, dense Bangladeshi and Yemeni pockets. Suburbs of New Jersey and Connecticut around NYC, and growing Muslim neighborhoods in smaller metros across the Sun Belt and Midwest. These local clusters, while smaller individually, add up, and they show a repeated pattern: immigrant and refugee arrival, followed by institution building, mosques, schools, civic groups, family formation, and then a consolidation of a public Muslim presence. What ties these places together are common urban drivers: access to jobs and universities, the economic infrastructure to sustain halal markets and Islamic schools, dense social networks that enable both immigrant settlement and interfaith converts to find communities, and a civic life that increasingly requires political representation and public accommodation, from Ramadan scheduling in schools to discussions about public calls to prayer. Recent city-level events, large Ramadan iftars in Houston, debates around Adhan, the call to prayer, broadcasting in Minneapolis, local Eid civic recognitions in Dearborn, are symptoms of the same pattern. American Islam is public, urban, and institutionally mature. When researchers ask why Islam continues to be the fastest-growing religion in the United States, the answer lies not in a single factor, but in the convergence of powerful demographic and social forces. Together, they form a pattern that is reshaping America's religious future. The first driver is birth rate and age structure. Muslim Americans are, on average, significantly younger than the general U.S. population. More than a third of Muslims in America are between 18 and 29 years old, compared with much smaller shares in other religious groups. This youthfulness translates into higher fertility and family formation, meaning that Muslim households contribute disproportionately to natural population growth. In simple terms, while many faith communities in America are aging, Islam is building from a youthful base. Second, immigration continues to fuel Muslim growth. Over half of U.S. Muslims today are either first-generation immigrants or children of immigrants. The largest waves have historically come from South Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. Countries like Pakistan, India, Egypt, Iraq, Somalia, and Nigeria. Even as U.S. immigration patterns shift in the 2020s, Muslims remain a steady inflow, bringing with them cultural diversity, professional skills, and transnational family networks that anchor them in urban American life. Third, geography plays a central role. Because nearly two-thirds of American Muslims live in metropolitan regions, they enjoy access to education, jobs, mosques, and Islamic centers. Urban density makes it easier to sustain community institutions, from Islamic schools and halal markets to interfaith dialogue centers that strengthen religious identity and visibility. This urban concentration is why cities like New York, Chicago, Houston, and Los Angeles feel like thriving Muslim capitals within the broader American landscape. Fourth, the role of youth identity and digital media cannot be underestimated. Younger generations of Muslims are not only inheriting faith, but also actively reinterpreting and reasserting it in a pluralistic society. Many young Americans, both those born into Islam and those exploring conversion, see Islam as a framework for ethical clarity, community belonging, and spiritual depth in a world of uncertainty. Social media amplifies this process. Platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram allow Muslim voices, scholars, influencers, and everyday believers to share personal stories, Quranic reflections, and Islamic perspectives with unprecedented reach. For many, a digital encounter with Islam is the first step toward deeper exploration, community connection, and sometimes conversion. Religious switching, the flow of people into and out of a faith, is a vital, often misunderstood part of America's changing religious map. And for Islam, it tells a nuanced story. Roughly 1 in 5 American Muslims today were not raised Muslim, meaning they converted into Islam at some point in their lives. This influx is counterbalanced by people who leave, and when researchers net those movements, the overall change from switching is modest. Still, the presence of significant numbers of converts makes Islam in the U.S. unusually dynamic compared with many other countries. Retention. The share of people raised in a religion who still identify with it as adults is high for Islam in America. About 3/4 to 4/5 of those raised Muslim remain Muslim, a retention rate comparable to or higher than many other major faiths in the U.S. This strong retention helps stabilize Muslim community growth even as switching continues to add newcomers. So why do thousands of Americans choose Islam? Large, recent studies of American converts point to a cluster of consistent motivations: a deep spiritual search for meaning, attraction to Islamic theology and moral teachings, personal relationships, friends, spouses, mentors that open pathways to conversion, and the appeal of Muslim community life, from mosque networks to social support structures. Many converts describe conversion not as a single event, but as a long, reflective process that often follows personal crises, intellectual inquiry, or encounters with practicing Muslims who model a coherent spiritual life. Yet conversion is rarely simple or purely celebratory. The 2025 study, Becoming Muslim: The Lives of American Converts to Islam, documents that many converts face tangible identity and acceptance challenges, strained family ties, workplace misunderstandings, and at times ambivalence or exclusion within segments of the Muslim community itself. These social frictions can complicate religious life for new Muslims and underscore why supportive community infrastructures, mentoring programs, inclusive mosque spaces, and interfaith outreach matter so much. American Muslims in 2025 are among the most diverse religious communities in the United States. Unlike other major faith groups that are often dominated by a single ethnicity, Islam in America reflects a wide spectrum of cultures and identities. There is no single majority group. Muslims in the U.S. include African Americans with deep historical roots, South Asian immigrants and their children, Arab Americans, Latino Muslims, and growing communities from sub-Saharan Africa. This ethnic and cultural mosaic makes the Muslim population one of the most heterogeneous in the entire American religious landscape. Religiosity remains a defining feature. Surveys consistently show that American Muslims report higher levels of religious practice compared to many other groups. Daily prayers, fasting during Ramadan, regular mosque attendance, and a strong belief in God continue to anchor their lives. Even among younger Muslims raised in secular American environments, the commitment to Islamic identity and rituals remains remarkably strong. This has contributed to Islam's visibility in public life, from university campuses to professional workplaces, where Muslim organizations, prayer spaces, and halal food access are increasingly normalized. Another key dimension is the generational divide between first-generation immigrants and second-generation American-born Muslims. First-generation Muslims often navigate life with strong cultural ties to their countries of origin, balancing faith with integration into American society. Their children, however, are negotiating what it means to be both fully American and fully Muslim. This dual identity often leads to activism, creative expression, and leadership roles in civic organizations, pushing Islam further into the mainstream of American life. Two groups deserve special attention when discussing the characteristics of U.S. Muslims in 2025: Latino Muslims and African American Muslims. The Latino Muslim community has seen significant growth, driven largely by conversions. Many are drawn to Islam's emphasis on family, community, and spirituality, with organizations like Islam in Spanish providing resources and cultural connections. Meanwhile, African American Muslims remain a cornerstone of the U.S. Muslim identity. They make up roughly 1/5 of the Muslim population, with a legacy tied to the Nation of Islam, the Civil Rights Movement, and now thriving Sunni Muslim communities. Their influence extends into politics, culture, and interfaith dialogue, reinforcing Islam's role as both a faith and a social force in America. Despite rapid growth and increasing visibility, American Muslims in 2025 continue to face significant challenges. Islamophobia and negative stereotypes remain persistent in public discourse, often fueled by misinformation, political rhetoric, and global events. Many Muslims report experiences of discrimination in workplaces, schools, and even public spaces, where their identity is questioned or viewed with suspicion. Hate crimes against Muslims, though fluctuating year by year, remain higher than those against many other religious minorities, reminding the community that acceptance is still a work in progress. Another profound struggle lies in identity conflicts. For converts, or reverts as many prefer to be called, this often means navigating tensions between their former religious or cultural background and their new Islamic faith. For immigrant families and their American-born children, the challenge is balancing the traditions of their parents' homelands with the realities of American culture. This duality can create friction, but it also sparks important conversations about what it means to be both authentically Muslim and fully American. Support from within the Muslim community itself is not always uniform. While many mosques and Islamic centers offer programs for new Muslims, others struggle to provide sustained mentorship and inclusion. As a result, some converts feel isolated or marginalized, unable to find a spiritual home that embraces both their faith and their unique cultural identity. This internal challenge is as significant as external discrimination, highlighting the need for stronger networks of belonging. Legal and political barriers also remain pressing. The lingering impact of past policies such as the travel ban has left scars on families and communities, creating a sense of vulnerability regarding civil rights. While Muslim representation in politics has improved, with more Muslim voices in Congress, city councils, and advocacy organizations, barriers to full participation remain. Issues such as surveillance, immigration restrictions, and debates over religious freedom continue to shape the political experience of American Muslims. Behind the statistics and demographic charts, the heart of Islam's growth in the United States lies in deeply personal stories. In 2025, thousands of Americans continue to embrace Islam every year, coming from remarkably diverse backgrounds. Former Christians, Catholics, Jews, and even atheists who once rejected all organized religion. Their journeys reflect a common thread, a search for meaning, authenticity, and spiritual grounding in a rapidly changing world. One of the most striking dimensions of Islam in America is the role of African American Muslims. Since the early 20th century, Islam has been central to African American struggles for dignity and justice, from the Nation of Islam to the mainstream Sunni community that followed. Today, African American Muslims make up more than 1/3 of the U.S. Muslim population. Their presence is not just statistical, it is historical. They have shaped Islamic institutions, built mosques, and nurtured community life that continues to inspire new generations. Their stories demonstrate how Islam is not only an immigrant religion, but also a deeply American faith with roots in resilience and civil rights. Latino Muslims represent another fast-growing segment of the community. In states like New York, California, and Texas, Latino converts are forming vibrant networks and Spanish-speaking Islamic centers. For many, Islam offers a spiritual home that bridges their cultural heritage with a new sense of belonging. Their voices challenge stereotypes by showing that Islam in the U.S. is not confined to one ethnicity or region. It is truly multi-ethnic and multilingual. Stories from Latino Muslims reveal how Islam resonates across cultural lines, offering clarity, discipline, and family values that align with their lived experiences. A landmark 2025 study, Becoming Muslim, collected the testimonies of more than 600 American converts. Their accounts highlight both the beauty and the struggle of embracing a new faith. Many describe the relief of finding a spiritual path that emphasizes direct connection with God, discipline through prayer and fasting, and a moral framework rooted in justice and compassion. But they also speak candidly about the challenges, navigating family rejection, facing Islamophobia, and searching for community acceptance. These lived experiences remind us that conversion is not just a change of belief. It is a profound transformation of identity, lifestyle, and belonging. The rise of Islam in the United States is not only visible in demographics and religious identity, it is reshaping culture, lifestyle, and public life in profound ways. By 2025, the halal lifestyle has moved from being a niche market to a mainstream trend. Halal food options are now widely available in grocery chains, restaurants, and even fast food outlets, reflecting consumer demand that extends far beyond the Muslim community. Halal-certified cosmetics, modest fashion lines, and ethical lifestyle products are also growing rapidly, turning Muslim consumer culture into a significant economic force within the American marketplace. Representation has become another key marker of change. In politics, more Muslim Americans are holding elected office than ever before, from local city councils to the halls of Congress. Figures such as Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib have opened doors for a new generation of Muslim leaders, while others continue to emerge across states with growing Muslim populations. In entertainment, Muslim actors, comedians, and writers are challenging stereotypes and creating authentic narratives that reflect the diversity of the community. On the sports field, Muslim athletes, from boxing champions to NBA and NFL players, proudly represent both their faith and their country, helping normalize Islam as part of American identity. At the community level, mosques and Islamic centers are playing a vital role in shaping urban life. No longer limited to prayer spaces, they serve as community hubs offering educational programs, charity services, interfaith initiatives, and youth mentorship. Many Islamic centers are located in major metropolitan areas where they foster a sense of belonging for immigrants and converts alike. These spaces are not only preserving faith traditions, but also actively participating in civic life. Interfaith dialogue has also become a hallmark of the Muslim experience in America. On university campuses, in local neighborhoods, and across public platforms, Muslims are engaging in meaningful conversations with Christians, Jews, Buddhists, and even secular groups. These dialogues are breaking down barriers, addressing misconceptions, and building bridges of understanding. They also demonstrate that Islam in America is not insular, but actively involved in shaping a pluralistic society. Looking ahead, the growth of Islam in the United States is expected to remain steady and sustainable. Unlike short-lived religious trends, this expansion is fueled primarily by two consistent factors: higher birth rates within Muslim families and continued immigration from regions such as the Middle East, South Asia, and Africa. Conversion will remain important, but it is no longer the sole driver. Demographics and migration are shaping the long-term future of the American Muslim population. The real game changer, however, lies with the younger generation. By 2025, Gen Z Muslims make up a significant share of the community, and their approach to faith is transforming what it means to be Muslim in America. They are fluent in digital culture, confident in their dual identities, and increasingly vocal in politics, social justice, and media representation. Unlike earlier generations, they are less willing to compromise on visibility, demanding both inclusion and respect in the public sphere. Urbanization is another critical factor shaping the future of Islam in America. With nearly two-thirds of Muslims concentrated in metropolitan areas, cities will remain the engines of community development. Mosques, Islamic centers, and Muslim-owned businesses will continue to thrive in urban spaces, strengthening networks of education, activism, and cultural exchange. These hubs not only preserve faith practices, but also embed Islam deeper into the civic and cultural fabric of American life. Finally, the digital landscape is poised to become the most powerful platform for growth. Social media, podcasts, and online learning are already transforming how Muslims engage with their faith. From live-streamed khutbahs to TikTok dawah content, digital platforms provide access to knowledge, role models, and global networks in ways unimaginable just a decade ago. This trend is especially critical for converts and young Muslims seeking community in places where physical mosques may be scarce. In the end, Islam has secured its place as a permanent part of America's religious and cultural landscape. What was once viewed primarily as a minority faith is now recognized as a growing and influential force that touches politics, culture, education, and community life. The Muslim presence in the United States is no longer on the margins. It is woven into the nation's story. This growth is not random, but rooted in three pillars: converts who continue to bring fresh energy and diverse perspectives into the faith, immigrants who contribute resilience and tradition, and younger generations who are redefining what it means to be Muslim and American at the same time. Together, they are shaping a future in which Islam is both authentic to its global roots and uniquely adapted to the American context. Yet the path forward will not be without challenges. Questions of identity, the persistence of Islamophobia, and the tension between tradition and modern life remain pressing issues. But these very challenges also create opportunities. Opportunities for dialogue, for building stronger interfaith connections, and for showcasing the richness of diversity that defines the American experiment. The future of Islam in America, then, is a story of both struggle and promise. It is a story of a faith that continues to grow, not just in numbers, but in influence and confidence. A story of communities that are building institutions, raising new generations, and engaging in the wider society with a sense of belonging. Islam in the United States is no longer the other. It is a part of the American fabric, shaping and being shaped by the future of the nation. Thanks for watching until the end. I hope it was useful. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.